Greetings.
Hello.
We live in interesting times, all right.
ready and not before.
Slicks the stone, a misstep chills the bone. The living pools hold the cure.
Yes? While we live, we are blessed.
An empire is nothing more than a standard pitched in the naked earth. The time has come for you to raise the standard upon the peak of false faith, the apex of Chitta's cathedral. Drive it deep into that sacred stone. Mark the death of a faithless empire and slay the slavering kingdom that seeks to consume it. An empire is nothing.
We may just discover the truth of this world.
clatter.
Greetings. Remember, we do this for freedom. Hello. For freedom.
Hello. The Plague Maw enters the Red Realm and leaves a swirling mess of living stone.
But it cannot be extinguished. There is no shame in falling to a god. Shame lies only in refusing to rise again. You shall soar. That much I'm permitted to foresee. You shall ascend to the peak of your loftiest mistake, and from there you shall pluck a single surviving hope from the jaws of immortal despair. A ship sails for Lion Eye's watch not far from here. Be honored. There is no shame in...
Welcome. Fate will find you.
You're still alive. So is Kitava. What more do you need to know? You'll find a way. I believe it. Remember, we do this.
Kitava is a primal deity, forged from the most fundamental of human desires, hunger. The simple act of craving that which we cannot yet consume. To defeat Kitava is to squeeze the very heart of human nature into stillness. You don't think you can do that? I suppose we'll see, won't we? Now, where was I?
I don't ask this in the name of innocence. He understands now the folly his devotees have wrought upon this world. I ask in the name of Oriath. There are many that deserve what Kitava offers, and there are many more who do not. Put an end to Kitava's savage reign, for there remains much in this land that is worth saving. Innocence forgives you.
I'm Captain Lily Roth, and we sail for Rayclast. Better to live in exile than die on this psychotic bonfire of an island. You want to make it out of here? You'd better get on board. But make it quick, 'cause I ain't got time for tears and regrets. Remember, this ain't no charity run. You owe me. Cast off! Alright, we're safe for the time being. Now let me introduce myself properly. Lily Roth. Yep, I'm one of those Roths. Some call me smuggler, others pirate. Yeah, I prefer the sound of nautical entrepreneur. Came up with that one myself. So you come see Lily if you need something, or even if you just fancy a good chat with a lovely lady. Don't think I'd be forgetting that favour you owes me. In fact, now I think of it, There's certainly a way you can be repaying this most considerable debt. You see, those blasted cultists have been plundering the refugee ships trying to escape Oriath. And if not for my incomparable skill as a sea captain, we'd have met the same fate. But now the drowned dead are washing ashore, and they ain't staying dead. There's been a whole lot of blood, sweat and tears getting these few lucky survivors here in one piece. What sort of captain would I be if I let them get ripped apart by walking corpses? Wipe the Twilight Strand clean of those filthy undead bastards and I'll call us even. Might even throw in a little something extra if you can pull it off. Waylem Roth. Here, let me share something I remember from your granddaddy's stories. No sooner had the others turned in fear from the great white Leviathan did Waylem load the ballista with his final harpoon. And right then he vowed to sea and sky that he and he alone would be the one to finally kill this bastard son of the Brine King. The ballista fired and the harpoon smote that creature right between the ribs as it made to dive back under the angry sea. Thick clouds of blood bloomed beneath the waves, roses flowering in the black water, and impossible though it seemed, the already shadowed ocean grew darker still. He used the bones of the great beast to reinforce the hull of his ship, the Black Crest. Old Rottooth, he's a true legend, a real pirate hero. I can only hope one day my own stories will reach his ears and make him proud of the granddaughter he had to leave behind. Yeah, I knew Tarkley, if you catch me drift. He's got no time for his old bunkmate these days, though. Too gaga-eyed over his lost cause of a fishwife Nessa. Time was, Tarkley and I would smuggle all about the coast of Oriath. Oh, good days they was. Sweet with rum, nothing but the wind and salt in our faces, freedom in our hearts, and the law on our tails. But I could tell he were getting ready to make feet for children's stockings with me, so I cut him loose. Not a spark's chance under the ocean the dreaded Lily Roth's gonna wind up swelling like some drowned carcass. Still, nice to work with that bugger one more time, just for old time's sake, you know? That scallywag. I reckon Bestel thinks I'd be the kind of lass who'll bed down with any sort of rascal. Not too far off, I guess. He is rather sweet, but not the most comely of figures. Actually, he kind of reminds me of my grandfather, Waylem Roth, a poet and scoundrel extraordinaire he be. Bestel's but spittle from the mouth of old Rottooth Roth. Ahem. Bust my blind cheek, said the sailor to the doxy. She sports her dairy treats afar and relishes her moxie. But a fire ship will sink the broken neath the ocean waves. Tip nutmegs a deadly token sends captains to their graves.
Despite your best efforts, Beastslayer, a splinter of hope remains. The very seed that brought my beast into existence. The Dark Ember. Never again shall it birth a life so magnificent as the beast. Yet a residue of that power still lingers. Enough to give us a fighting chance against the ravenous Kitava. How do we obtain this Dark Ember? 3 hearts were silenced. 3 hearts must sing again, one last time. In that final flickering of life, our savior's seed shall be born. All I need are 3 fine souls with which to stoke the flames. Chevron of Umbra, Inquisitor Maligaro, Doldre the Dark Tongue. 3 spirits of near unfathomable resilience and vigor, freed with the beast's final exhalation. So let us begin the harvest. Chevron has come home to Axiom. We shall give her the warm welcome she sincerely deserves. If she is to be of any use to us, the Umbra's spirit must be wrenched from her mortal manifestation and lashed to our greater cause. That is your task. For my part, I shall negotiate the terms of her cooperation. With a tragic kiss and lasting embrace, her essence shall pass into me as if she were sweet breath from the mouth of my lover. It is a sacrosanct sacrifice for all involved. Thankfully for you, All I ask is that you do what you clearly do best. Kill. Ambition is the bane of mortality. It was through ambition that we gods transcended the thick mud and thin blood of our mundane birthrights. Ambition that drove us to sustain our divine selves through the subjugation of others. Chevron's soul is made up of 1 part ambition and 2 parts raw, unbounded passion. Such a volatile spark shall burn briefly and brightly, in even the most deadened of hearts. I shall put this simply, for in truth, everything comes down to the simple act of planting a seed in the ground. The gods are rising because you slew the one creature that prevented them from doing so. Your name for it is the Beast. It was I who planted the seed in the rich soil beneath Highgate, who nurtured it, who watched it bloom into maturity, even as I succumbed to its mollifying powers. We gods, we were driven into slumbering darkness, to dream away eternity whilst the gentle beast watched over us. I would desire that we return to that blissful state, but my brothers and sisters of deism shall never submit to banishment. They have tasted freedom once more, and they shall not let go of this world until it is pried from their cold, dead hands. The beast was never a cruel master. It didn't want to destroy, to corrupt, to terrorize. It simply existed to exist. I made it that way. Unfortunately, in neglecting to provide it with ambition, I made it vulnerable to the ambitions of others. Queen Atziri and Doriani, Emperor Chittis and Malachi, others even before them. I created a beast that would free humanity from the tyranny of the gods. Yet all I really did was provide the perfect tool with which humanity could tyrannize itself. Remember, humanity needs us.
Now there's a pair of eyes I could never forget. If the tales are true, those peepers of yours have seen all the wonders of Rayclast by now, and a few things they likely wish they hadn't. Oh, and no need for us to speak of Oriath. My ears are brimful with the sorrows these wretched companions of yours have been spilling. Now, I'm sure you've noticed that Lion Eyes Watch has seen better days. Our once bubbling township has, alas, become a brooding quagmire of gloom and despair. I blame the unrelenting weather. As you know, I am both a humanitarian and a strong believer in the soul-sustaining power of story. Back when I was still captain of the Merry Gull, many days at sea afforded me time to work on my thespian aspirations. I wrote a theatrical epic, a one-man show entitled Cedric and the Buxom Stranger. I sealed the manuscript inside a roll of oiled leather and stashed it in the hold for safekeeping. Perhaps you could salvage it for me from that tidal island upon which my poor ship came to rest. Who knows? Maybe we can bring some joy back to Lion Eyes Watch with a bit of live entertainment. Now there's a sorry tale, more miserable than any dirge I've ever heard. Nessa's gone, wandered off into the night muttering to herself about dancing to his ditty. No, I didn't go after her. In truth, she was gone when I woke up the next morn. I only imagined she'd be muttering, you see, on account of the murmuring she's been making these past few weeks. Always the same, about him and his song, whoever in damnation he is. Lily Roth, granddaughter of the legendary Rottooth Roth. Oh, apologies if I seem a little giddy. It's not any old day you get to meet marine royalty. I mean, you know how I feel about pirates and all, but the Roths have as much in common with those scurvy sea rats as a shark does with a goldfish. Lily has her granddaddy's blood in her veins. It's plain for all to see. Look at the luster in her eyes, the ruddy blush of her skin. That there's a pirate princess, and no mistake. You'll not find a more renowned pirate as Walem Rocktooth Roth. In times when Fairgraves was still a whelp earning his sea legs, Rocktooth was prowling the Strait of Orioth in his ship, the Black Crest. It's said he built it himself, lining its hull with the bones of some great sea beast he slew with nothing but a harpoon and a bottle of rum. Never was there a more nimble, more ferocious vessel, like that Leviathan's spirit still lived and breathed in its timbers. No one sighted Rocktooth for 20 years or more, but I know where the Black Crest is. The ship graveyard, no less. Seems that Walem Roth might have had his last meal with Lady Mervale. You won't find a sailor that doesn't whisper a quiet prayer to the Brine King before casting off. In fact, under the maddening radiance of a full moon, the more superstitious captains would drown some poor slave or failed mutineer just to keep old Tsoagoth happy. No, that wasn't a sneeze. That's the fish god's old Esmerian name. It's considered foul luck to speak it on board a ship. A keel-hauling offence. Yes, we live in curious times indeed. A time when old stories are being birthed, mewling and puking into our world of dirt and blood. It's all a bit inspiring, really. Hence, I've written a little something. Ancient anecdotes now wake from their beds, looming in our fears, towering above our heads. Age-old lusts and bygone greeds, walking and reeking as humanity bleeds. Rivers of history, lakes of blood, the gods stand upon us as we cower in the mud.
Welcome. Yes?
My apologies, Exile, but I'm waiting for someone. Perhaps you could attend to the needs of the others here. Stay out of trouble.
First we hear that Orioth has lost its bloody mind, and then you turn up. Doesn't take a scholar to work out how these two events might be connected. I don't know what's going on out there, and I probably wouldn't understand it if I saw it with my own two eyes. What I do know is this. The world we knew, it's gone. Now we have to do our damnedest to make sure we don't go with it. Nessa. I saw her one night, running out across the coast, headed in the direction of the mudflats. Called out to her, but she didn't even turn her head. Maybe she couldn't hear me. Maybe she didn't want to. I don't bloody know. I tried to run after her, but she'd vanished into the darkness before my feet had barely touched the sand. So I tracked her, all the way to the mudflats, and that's when her tracks, they just stopped. No sign of meeting someone or something. No sign of a struggle. It's like one moment she was running, and the next, gone. Look, I've heard some things about what you've done. Things that beg a belief. Now you can do this. Please. Find Nessa. Bring her back to us. Those shambling nobles out there on the strand? They left Orioth to die a bloody death. Rats fleeing a sinking ship. Seems they learned a bit of the hard truth, though. Doesn't matter how much money you have, you can't outrun death when it comes for you. Can't say they've actually noticed, though. They're still the same flesh-eating bastards they've always been. Just a bit more obvious about it now. Never took much stock in the stories Lily told. Didn't sit right. Those full moon sacrifices her and her ilk would do out on the open water. But now, in light of everything, I'm obliged to reconsider. If it meant Nessa might be spared the attentions of that wretched Brine King, I'd even be inclined to slit a mutineering throat or two myself. I wonder how much Lily squeezed out of those refugees from Oriath. Yes, she did risk her life and ship to save them, but I knew the Lily of old, a damn fine smuggler. And that Lily never did a good deed that didn't also turn a profit. I had a life before Lion Eye's watch. Not much of one by some people's standards, but it was good enough for me. Lily and I, we'd smuggle a bit of booze to keep our purses full. We were good at it, too. Made us a fine partnership, her quick mind and my steady nerves, right up until the day she left me drunk and trussed on Penance Key. By the time the blackguards unwrapped their present, she was halfway to Trathus. That's how I ended up here. Yes, it smarts a bit to look at her, but what right have I to say where the flotsam finally washes up? Farewell. Farewell.
Come to hear your poem?